When I started an engineering company, my desire or my wish, my ambition was to export to Germany. And for that, Germany is like a mathematics paper. Okay, you are always fear. You always have a fear, and you have to study very well to pass with the 100 marks. And Germany is a country, I will tell you, if you have guts, we say, then show the entire world that you can supply to Germany. If you're supplying to Germany, you don't need to think, you can supply to anywhere in the world. You can practically supply anywhere in the world. Germans are very competitive. They are quality conscious. I can tell hundreds of things about the Germans, but we have two speakers today from the Germany, and one of them is actually an Indian in Germany. So don't go with his name, Jan Kirloskar. He is Indian, but he is in Germany for a long, long time. And both of them don't again go with their age. I don't see much hair on David and Jan's head, but yeah. But I can tell you, they know, they have helped many Indians in many different ways to enter into the German market. But here are the two quick facts. Jayant is a IIT Kharagpur student. He also was representing Kirloskars in Germany. And David is a TiE president. I won't go long in introducing them. One thing very clear to all the exporters: if you want to export to Germany, these people will help us. But we need to be serious enough to approach them. And that's why I think Sushma is trying to tie up with them so that we bring in their expertise. So there will be some sort of filtration, some sort of checklist which we will have with them, so that when you will approach them, you are ready to export to Germany mentally and physically. Okay, so I'll leave it to both of them. The podium is yours, David and Jen. Thank you so much for coming today. I think we need to unmute them quickly. And
yes, sir. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Parag. Wow, I can speak. That is so nice. KDSushma, first of all, congratulations. Great achievements in so few years. You're very, very industrious and you will be very successful. I have a request though, that you unmute all, because, and I also have another request, that those who do not show face should now show face, because I think the virtual sessions are made such that you can see at least the mimic and what people think about what you say, because if you all say we're crazy, we'll change the subject. Jayant will introduce himself in a second. Parag, you said I'm TiE. TiE is half an hour by itself, the Indus entrepreneur. Some of you may know TiE. Currently, we have a chapter in Germany, in North England, and in London, in Europe, and I'm heading the German chapter. But besides that, Jayant and I have a company called Market Entry Facilitation Team, which helps Indian companies set foot in Germany. And besides that, Jayant has a neat business of his own, and I have a business of my own. In fact, I buy mica linings from Giridih in Jharkhand, selling those to foundries all over the world. To make it short, Jan is not with us anymore. He said so many good and valuable things. He just made one little mistake, and that was the gateway to Europe is Germany. Now, that's a joke, of course, because historically, the Netherlands was the place where ships came, and it's the most developed, as far as culture comes, country in Europe still today, if you ask me. However, Germany, as the largest economy, it is very, very important to settle foot in Germany. And there are so many things that he wrote, and I usually write my notes by copy pasting the screen and then writing notes to it. Something that I would suggest to many of you not doing it so far, unless you have other means how to very quickly write notes. So I would like Jayant to first introduce himself shortly, and then we will continue. Jayant, would you like to say something? Okay, then I will continue because I know Jayant normally likes to talk and he's a good talker. Well, okay. Jayant, I do not know if you can hear you. You're speaking, but we cannot hear you. So in the meantime, I'll just continue for you. Jayant, a personal friend, he has come to Germany in 1991 as Kirloskar, great-grandson, helping sell their diesel engines and their pumps throughout Europe. They even had an office in Hamburg, further than in Holland. In fact, we have visited Holland together. And for a trip to Düsseldorf, we are based in Frankfurt area. I told you, Jayant, we know so many people from India, and why don't we help them form a GmbH in Germany? There are some of them who are really already knowing what Jan said, what their customer segments are.
Can you hear me?
I can hear Jan now. Jan?
You
Yes.
can hear me.
Go ahead, Jayant.
Good.
Please do.
So I think
yes.
I think Prasad has introduced and David has introduced. So I will not spend any more time on introduction itself. First of all, I want to thank Sushma for considering us. It's an honor to be part of this mission and to be part of this event. So thank you for that, and hearty congratulations and all the best to all the people who are here aspiring to become a successful exporter. I think Jan has already said so much that probably we have very little to say. But I and David would like to touch a few things which we call probably the fundamentals. And fundamentals are very less and they don't change much. So we'll try to touch them as quickly as possible, not taking too much of your time. First thing is, of course, I would proudly say that Germany is a driving engine and one of the strongest economies of Europe. And that is probably the right place to start and get into Europe. As Parag said, I fully agree. If you can sell anything in Germany, then you can sell anything in the world. That's how it is. Because Germany is a very strong manufacturing economy. And you will find so many products that they have made all over the world. And if you take a product, it's just taken that made in Germany and nothing goes wrong. So that's how it is. So that's what I would say. And yeah, we will touch a few things. Now over to David.
Thank you, Jayant. And KDSushma, if you share later, not now, we'll not share the screen. I think this is more interesting for you and you may ask us questions. We have a few slides that KDSushma or Parag can share with all those interested after the session. Maybe you will have enough time where we can have a look inside. It shows a little bit about MEFT work. But in general, I've written some notes together with Jayant, and what we think you should do is, if you're not a solely export company, if you're a company that is first locally in agriculture or neighboring industries, as I understand, you have to be naturally strong in your local market first before you go outside of the market. Now, if you go outside the market to a country like Germany, then you should know we are very much different from the Americans. In America, you have trial and error. You can do a mistake and they'll tell you you did a mistake, and then you go back and you change until you iterate to the right product. In Germany, it's not like that. There is no, I'm very strict, no second chance for the first impression. I'm a bit exaggerating because the younger Germans are a bit better than that, but still, before you approach a German company with your offer to them, you have found out, of course, what your customer segments are. You have found out whether your product is fit for market and all that naturally beforehand. But before you approach, you should be ready to fulfill the three important things. One, of course, is price. And it's not only labor price, because that is cheap in India compared to Europe. However, there are other prices, like that company that was selling steel components to Netherlands. You have to consider, for example, the transport costs and weight. But there are other handling costs. And if you send Incoterm SIF and Incoterm FOB, sometimes FOB is cheaper than CIF, if you guys know what those Incoterms means, free on board and cost insurance freight. Sometimes when you get products from India or China to Hamburg in Germany, it's more expensive to get it from Hamburg to their location than if they would have picked up themselves. So you need to know all these things before you approach a German customer, because the German customer will ask you about pricing, and then they will not want to know just the price of your product. They will like to know your product or service at where it is needed in Germany. So these are two different prices. Another very, very important issue in Germany is timely delivery. When you promise something, and Jan was very right, it's not Superman, but do not promise what you cannot keep unless you know that you could keep it in a later phase, but you have to be very assured. That I'll talk about that at another chance. Timely promises must be kept. And this also implies that when you say you will give an answer to a question, that you do not wait for a week. That answer has to come within 24, preferably, or latest 48 hours. And even if the answer is, we still do not know what the answer is, you have to tell them in 24 hours or 48 hours, otherwise the German side will not take you for real. And another third issue is, it's actually self-explanatory for Germans, that quality, and it's taken for granted, and consistently taken for granted. You do not make samples especially good for your customers. You do the job especially good for your customers. I've heard those sentences, so it's nice to laugh at, but in reality, you experience that from countries like Brazil, China, India, and very, very difficult to enter those countries into Germany or UK. I've done that, and I can tell you it has improved immensely the last 10 years. But still, you have to keep up with what you promise as far as price, delivery, time, and quality is concerned. Over to you, Jayant.
Yeah, the next point I just wanted to bring to attention is I have worked in India and also in Germany. So I must submit that I have idea of how we Indians work, and that has added to my knowledge. Now, I would like to say that we have to bring in process orientation, or we have to bring the quality and delivery and everything in process. If we don't do that, then there will be always fluctuations and there will be problems. So that's why you have to understand the needs and prepare your value propositions accordingly. Then you have to meet the necessary standards. They can be ISO standards, there can be European norms, and so on and so forth. And today, of course, you have to add digitalization, which has become a very important thing. You see, right now, because of COVID, we have the fantastic possibility that all of you are watching. We are sitting 6,000-7,000 kilometers apart, but we are watching and having or sharing our thoughts together, which is a fantastic thing. But that is, of course, one aspect. And the other aspect is bringing the digitalization at the shop floor and in the process and in the documents and whatever. So that is another aspect which needs to be considered. And of course, the costs have to be considered and revenues have to be managed. But this process orientation, I think, is very important. I typically remember when I first came to Germany in 1991, almost 30 years ago, we had a tendency to create a separate export department, some special export people managing the production and delivery and everything. And this used to be rather people oriented rather than process oriented. That's what I want to drive at when we say that every product which is produced in our factory or in our system must be of the export quality. That's what it is when we can avoid the problems. Please, David, please go ahead.
Great, thank you, Jayant. I would like to put in TiE now very, very shortly. Jayant and I are both members at TiE, and Parag and KDSushma know TiE. If you want to come to another country besides India, where TiE has 25 chapters, then it's good to be a member in one of those TiE communities nearby you, a so-called associate member. Those are the members that are striving, the startups that are striving to get knowledge and information from the other members who are mentors, who are incubators, who are educators, networkers, and even funders. So the idea of TiE, KD, if you share with your audience, would be very, very nice. I really support the idea of TiE. It's a great tool, worldwide, coined in 1992 in Silicon Valley in USA. And it's not only AI based. In fact, one of our members, Rohan Kapoor of Natural Med Scientific, has a company in India and one in Germany, which is dealing with agro products for the pharma industry, for the cosmetic industry, and for the food industry. I was hoping he would join us today, but he must be it's very, very busy today when you get products from India. It's a red country in Germany, and he has a lot of problems with the deliveries currently. However, we can connect you. We, Jayant and I, independent of TiE, have a company called Market Entry Facilitation Team. And Market Entry Facilitation Team, what it does is take you by the hand to those goals that you want to reach. And KDSushma and us, we will figure out a way how we can make it affordable, because everything that is good costs money. You should know that. If you're good, your product will cost more money than if you're bad, simple as that. And people should want to buy quality. And I think that what I like about India a bit more than about China, and I think I'm right, that the culture and the quality of culture of quality is higher ranked than from China. I do not want to make China bad. I'm buying from China as well. But I do know that if you talk about quality, it's easier to handle culture-wise, not only because of the history of languages and so, but it's easier to handle such in India. Okay. So that was it. Yeah, well, we can connect you as MEFT. Maybe we will share the screen of our KD. Can you share our presentation, or can you
Yes.
Just one point. Okay, just one point before we go to the the last point. I think David has said everything, and I think it is true that Sushma and us can get together and help you people in reaching some of your aspirations, and we could certainly work on that. The last point I just wanted to say before we go to the presentation is just remember the golden rule. I do not know if everybody knows the golden rule. The golden rule simply means that you give to the people what you expect from the people. As simple as that. So I personally, this is my personal motto or my personal rule for my life, irrespective of what part of the life I'm dealing with. If it's my friends, it's my family, it's my business relations. If I'm expecting something, I have to first give that, and I have to be. I get into the shoes and do it accordingly. So that's all I'm saying. Now the last point I'll add is, of course, every one of you knows that when you go to exports, I think three things come into the picture. One is culture. You are going to a different culture altogether. Language. Very often the language will not be English. It could be something else. Of course, English will help you. And the third thing is you have to see individual country could be developed or developing, and what status it is, how they have grown, how they have evolved, and these things will also come in the way. So that is another thing which you have to keep. I must say that this is not rocket science. This is, if you go by following these fundamentals, I'm sure you can achieve your goals. There is nothing like anything difficult. So over to you, David.
Thank you, Jayant. And in doing so, what Jayant and I are doing is one non-for-profit with TiE and for-profit with MEFT. And KD, can you kindly share the screen? It's just, I think, very few slides that then can be shared by those interested. That shows our credentials. Sure. And the others, I hope you are able to unmute, because I find it very boring in a session, and ask a question or two if you feel like it. Don't worry, just interrupt us, please. I hope, KD, you allow them.
Yes, we will take questions also. Once I will share the PPT, and then after that we will take the questions also.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes,
that's a
yes.
bit more stiff, but that's better than nothing. Go ahead. I think presentations, I like to look into your guys' faces. Yeah, well, MEFT was born in 2012. Yeah, and we are an international matchmaker, and our value proposition can be seen here. That's the wrong page. We are visiting India if COVID allows. Jayant and I are representing several companies from India in Germany so far, and be they from the Bihar, Jharkhand, Kolkata region, be they from the South region, Tamil Nadu, or from Baroda and Gujarat area, else even Mumbai or Delhi. So we are very much into India. I think many Hindi mein baat kar sakte, but that will change. That has to come, Parag.
That's nice.
Thank you. Accent free. So please put the next slides. As you go, I'll say one or two words because we can share those slides. I think the questions are more important than our slides. You're
Yes,
too long
yes.
on the first slide, and you need someone to just go through while I'm talking. Because what are the three more important slides? Maybe you can leave the left side open so I can tell you which slide number. But this one, yeah, helping Indian companies feel home away from home. Next slide, and quicker, please, because that is way too slow. KD, we have to change to be quick.
Actually, David, the net connection is a little bit slow and it's very.
But you know, in connection, by the way, Germany is, I think, one of the slower ones in Europe. I wonder why. They're so well developed in mechanical engineering, machining. They're well, but on the internet, very poor. We have a lot of white spots. Why is this first slide still there and not changing? Please show all the slides on the side so we can be much faster. And please let unmute. Okay, yeah, that's naturally, yeah. And then just go down to the slide where people talk about us. I like these the most. These are real. It's 6, 7, 8. I think you're at number 3. Go down, go down. All this you can read yourself. Nothing, no rocket science, as Jayant says. What's important is what people tell about us. So just press the Philsep one, page 8. Philsep is a company which does lube oil skids and filters. They have approached us some 2.5 years ago, asking us to help them enter the German market. They are very well established and they know their competitors, but some of their competitors are in Europe, in the world, and they wanted to do likewise. So what did we do? We have contacts to industry and we connected them with Siemens, Atlas Copco, Howden, Sulzer, KSP, all those big names. Not what Jan said you should do directly, that you should do with either your agent, your wholesaler, us, or door openers, and that won't be for free. Naturally, you'll have to add on to your costs. But what they write about us is very nice. And we've been visiting Alap and his company, and they are growing and they are succeeding even in their own country due to activities outside of the country, because people see that they are bothering to put efforts into export. The next one is another company from Mumbai. Next slide, please, whoever is changing the slides. And that company it's Venus Electronic Labs. They wanted to enter the very difficult market of Germany in the field of X-ray and documentation and MRI. And that was very, very difficult because of what Jan said is very important. GDPR, we have very strong restrictions on data exchanges here. And that is something you need to consider before you come to Europe. But that survey we did told them, hey, Europe or Germany is not ready. They were going from an American model, trying to enter that in Europe. They saved a lot of time and effort. We are very close friends. Every time when we are in Mumbai, we are sharing time with them. And when they come to Germany, we're very pleased to see them, see Yashesh and his team. The next slide on page 10 is Sientra. Sientra, likewise, they were asking us to form a company for them. And there was a lot of fraud and with formation deeds of people coming, especially from India to Germany, telling us, we have a lot of money, we want to put based in Germany and live in Germany, that is not easy. If you want to become a so-called managing director, you can close the slides, please, KDSushma. And if you want to be in Germany and you want to have a company and you think you'll come with some 100,000 INR, which is almost 900,000 in India, rupees, that will only last for can you close the slides, please? That will only last for about 1 or 2 years, because you have to pay yourself a salary. You have to be a managing director, and you have to do one thing for sure. You have to respond much quicker, KD, than the response here on screen. Germans are impatient, and I'm a typical German for that. But I'm not a typical German, because I come from Israel and I've been living in Germany since I'm 10 years of age, and I went to an American school. Nevertheless, what I want to say, is that you do need to have a lot of money if you want to come and put your own branch in Germany. Therefore, we do not suggest that to small and medium-sized companies right away. I cannot see the faces. That's irritating. I'll let you, Jayan, speak to the screen. And then we'll see some questions. Who is changing the slides?
Actually,
Boom.
No,
Boom.
not me, not me.
Saved. But whoever changed the slides, finish your lunch or dinner before the session is over.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, I will do that.
Not you, but whoever does, because we would like to see the people in interchange. I think virtual sessions are for interchange. That was a big problem, the COVID situation all over the world, and especially if you interchange. But it was also a very, very big chance. We started doing cross-chapter exchanges, for example, with some 25 chapters from Germany to Surat, to Bangalore, to Chennai, to Kolkata, wherever, and the smaller cities as well, Nagpur. It was such a pleasure. So if nowadays you can exploit the fact that it is visual rather than physical, do the best out of it. And you can do a lot. You can enter a product into the market. We had a Thai woman pitch, and the winner was only virtual, and her product is fantastic. She will be visiting Dubai in October to pitch globally and win, hopefully, $100,000 for her business, which is a lot of money. Now, feel free to ask one or two. Do we have some time, Parag and Sushma?
So we are running late, but I think 2 questions from the
audience.
Yes, I'm not.
But that's Jan's fault, the Dutch guy.
Yeah, I agree. That's why.
So people who want to ask questions, Jay, do you want to say something?
No,
your voice.
We shocked you, or you are not unmuted. One of the two.
No, Jayant, we can't speak. We can't hear you.
Because you can unmute. Anshuman, you look very interested and happy. You're still celebrating. The 10 days are not over, right?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear?
Jen. Yes, Jen. Yes, thank you, David.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Now,
Thank you,
David has said so many things about himself. I'll just add one more thing. He spent his past life in India. He has a tremendous affinity for India, which, of course, nobody knows, but that's how he feels sometimes. Anyway, I see here one question. Is it compulsory to first? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it compulsory to first sell the product in the domestic market to gain product knowledge before going to absolutely. Whoever has asked us question, it is absolutely true, because then you would have gone through the various stages of evolution of your product rather than experimenting that in a foreign market, which will be far more expensive. And as you say, a lot of bugs would be already removed, and you will have a product which has come to a level of, say, 95% plus or more. Because when you go to the foreign market, probably it will also be tested and evaluated. It will not be accepted just as it is. And you will have to compete with the product from that country. So it will have a tremendous level. So you have to reach those kind of levels. So naturally, it is better to do things in your country before you go out? Thank you.
I will just add up to what Jan said just now. Even exporting to Germany, I said it seriously that before going to Germany, that's why we kept a Dutch presentation before that, before going to the Western Europe, Eastern Europe is different than Western Europe. So Europe itself has, a lot of differences. So if you're supplying to Romania or supplying to Poland, or even supplying to Hungary for that matter, and you want to supply to Germany, you are not qualified. So best way is to start somewhere in Europe through tradings, and then eventually go to Germany to test yourself, for sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, David. Yeah.
You're not wrong. No, I was just answering some chat questions first to you, and then I noticed I was writing you instead of all.
Yeah.
So TiE Germany, you can see germany.tie.org. Chartered members are those that give their knowledge and mentor and educate and incubate and finance and network. These are the 5 pillars. I only wrote 4, sorry. And the associate members are, I would like to have made a poll before, KDSushma, if it's possible. How many of you in the audience are startups? How many of you are already scale-ups? But that is now perhaps late, but within the next couple of hours you can do, and perhaps could be interesting. Yeah. I saw you were quite a few
idea,
people.
Actually.
Okay, we only lost 3 people in the last 25 minutes, Jayant. Well done. You are 100 people, and I think that is great. So there is big interest, there
is David. Excuse me. There are people on the YouTube as well. So there is a YouTube direct.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So thank you so much, David and Jen, for coming.
Thank you.
And enlightening us. There are a lot of things, supplying to Europe, supplying to Germany is a serious, long, which will take your patience at best. But I can tell you the journey would be enjoyable. Having said this, I think Sushma, you if you have not started exporting yet, like Jen said, start in the domestic market. If you have started exporting, start with the steps that both of them talked about. And I think Sushma, what I said in the beginning is to make a checklist, with the help of Jayant and David, and give it to all the Indian startups who wish to enter European market. They will help us build one, because both of them know India very well. So
and feel free to write short emails. Don't make them long. If you're interested, just keep it short, and then we always are very happy to do as we go about by having a Zoom session with someone who has shown interest and telling them within half an hour whether there is a chance or not. And I can tell you, Parag speaks out of own experience, very successful experience in the automotive industry. So I know what Parag says is right.
Thank you so much, David, once again. Thank you, Jen.